World War I is a fascinating era in history, and it shocks me that the setting of the Great War isn't used more in media. There are plenty of books on the subject, but when it comes to movies and video games, I can't help but feel a lack of content, with a few notable exceptions, of course. This inspired me to go looking. I wanted to find a World War I-themed game that did the era justice. After some Googling and ritualistic prayer, I landed on the game I wanted to try. Ubisoft's Valiant The Great War caught my eye with its art design, and I felt obligated to give it a go. The game dropped in 2014, and I don't remember seeing anything on it at the time, but to be fair, that was around the same time that I started doing drugs, so who's to say what I can't remember?
This is a mess.
Yeah, no idea. Let's take a look at the story. The opening screen of Valiant Hearts lets you know what to expect right from the jump. It assured me this was going to be the type of war story I like. The type of war story where there aren't any clear heroes, and I'm going to be a bit sad by the end.
This is a bummer, man.
Wasting no time, the game begins with World War I kicking off after the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. Two of the playable characters are introduced, with one being deported and the other being drafted to fight for his country, and from there we're plunged into the abyss. Players will be sent on a semi-historically accurate adventure through some of WWI-themed most prolific battles. During this, you will bond with characters around you, despite most of them speaking some sort of demonic pig Latin-esque language. I believe they call it French.
Va te faire foutre.
I'm kidding, of course. The characters only use their native tongue during gameplay, and most of the time it's a near indistinguishable mumble.
That ain't gonna work out, man.
When the character speaking can be interpreted, it's often done through narrations and journals that the player unlocks as they progress the story. One would think this would cause a disconnect between the audience and the characters, but this wasn't the case. I was attached to these mumbling weirdos by the end. So much so that it genuinely moved me seeing the last scene of the game. The emotional tones on display are exactly what I want to see. War is hell, and you can try to romanticize it all you want.
Sort of out-of-door camping holiday with the boys, with a slight spice of danger to make it interesting.
The dark truth will always come through. Not everyone goes home, and for some people the war never ends. I love this because warfare is often glamorized, and it really shouldn't be. It's horrible, and I respect the stories that show this without hesitation. Obviously, I love the narrative of Valiant Hearts, but a good narrative does not make a good video game, so let's take a look at the gameplay. The core of Valiant Hearts gameplay is puzzles, and that's what players should expect when booting this one up. Do not expect your standard war-themed video game. Valiant Hearts is a 2D side-scrolling trial of the mind, and I'm happy to say Ubisoft's developers have made a very compelling game here. For a puzzle game to stay compelling, it needs to stay challenging, and through a 6 to 8 hour campaign, this can be difficult. So to combat this, the game throws new mechanics at you frequently. Expect to dig through tunnels, give commands to your trusty dog of war, and operate multiple characters at once to progress. Most of the challenge comes from the puzzles, because if you die, the only consequence is the screen fading to black and you being sent back a few steps. So the puzzles have to be challenging because of this. But don't worry, if you get stuck, Valiant Hearts has a generous and optional hint system to assist the players with those harder areas. That is, of course, if you're a bitch and need help. Coming from the guy who needed assistance on the first area, and then the assistance didn't work, so I looked it up on YouTube. Let's go ahead and redirect to something that I didn't like. When you play as the nurse, the quick time event healing minigame overstays its welcome. But besides that, I liked basically every other aspect of the gameplay. And if you haven't noticed by now, Valiant Hearts is beautiful. So let's take a look at the presentation. Graphically, I have no complaints. Valiant Hearts describes itself as a 2D comic book adventure, and that hits the nail on the head. Beautiful colors and detailed environments pair perfectly with the more exaggerated character models. You will watch a comic book come to life while playing this game, lending itself to more boisterous encounters while still staying in a believable setting. I can also sing praises to the sound design. Explosions sound intense, and hearing your fellow man scream in agony is blood-chilling. Accentuate this with excellent performances by the game's voice actors. These talented folks are a big part of why the emotional notes hit so hard for me, the prime example being Emil's final lines before the game ends. And if all that wasn't enough, the music is amazing as well, with some real classics. And I do mean classics. When I heard Hungarian Dance by Lars Payne, I knew it was popping off. The game also prioritizes education, with collectibles and journals telling you fun facts about the war. It was nice to see so much thought going into these, and I love the fact they were based around real-world knowledge.
Because knowledge is power!
There isn't a lot for me to complain about when it comes to this game, but I do recognize it's not for everyone. You may be wondering if you want to play this game, and to answer that question I would ask myself 3 things. Do I like puzzle games? Is World War I interesting to me? And do I like comics? If you answered yes to 2 of those 3 questions, I'd say give it a shot. You may be pleasantly surprised at how much you enjoy Valiant Hearts. And that's pretty much where I'm going to leave you today. But I'd like to make one other recommendation to all the World War I fanatics out there. The book titled A World Undone by G.J. Meyer is one of the best collections of World War I knowledge I've ever read, and in many ways it inspired me to review this game. If you're interested, please check it out. With that, I'm heading back to the trenches until next time.